There exists a category of creatures in this world that have been spotted by a few, yet never officially recognized. We refer to these creatures collectively as unidentified mysterious animals, or UMA for short. Hello everyone, welcome to the UMA series. In the western United States, nestled within California, lies an ancient and mysterious land, the Santa Lucia Mountains. While its breathtaking natural scenery makes it one of California's top tourist attractions, an eerie legend adds an air of mystique to these deep and solemn mountains. For centuries, people have occasionally glimpsed eerie humanoid figures appearing and disappearing along the ridges, as if they were visitors from another world. And that brings us to today's topic, the humanoid phantoms of American Western folklore, the Dark Watchers. The name Dark Watchers originates from the Spanish term for the same concept. Legend has it that these mysterious beings existed long before the Spanish arrived in California in the 18th century. The indigenous Chumash people also documented these shadowy figures in their mythology. Even as English-speaking Americans established sovereignty in the region, they reported feeling an unsettling gaze from the mountains above. Dark Watchers are typically described as towering humanoid phantoms, standing between 7 and 15 feet tall. Some accounts say they wear long black cloaks and wide-brimmed hats, carrying a staff in hand. They are said to silently stand atop ridges or peaks at dusk or dawn, watching those who wander the mountain trails. But whenever someone tries to approach them, they vanish instantly without a trace. This legend is particularly prevalent along California's western coastal regions, from Monterey in the north to Avila Beach, with the Big Sur area being a hotspot. Locals fear the silhouette standing atop the mountains, as it is considered an omen of misfortune. One of the most well-known written records of the Dark Watchers comes from 1938, in the short story collection The Long Valley by American author John Steinbeck. In the third chapter, Flight, a 19-year-old boy named Pepe accidentally kills a man while out fetching medicine. When he returns home, his mother instructs him to flee on horseback, warning him, "When you climb to the high mountains, if you see the Dark Watchers, do not approach them and do not try to speak to them." Soon after entering the mountains, Pepe encounters one of these figures. The passage describes, "Every minute he looked back over his shoulder. His eyes sought the mountaintops ahead. Once, on a white barren spur, he saw a dark form against the sky, but he looked quickly away, for it was one of the Dark Watchers. No one knew who they were, where they lived, but it was better to ignore them and pretend not to see them. They did not bother one who stayed on the trail and minded his own business." As evening fell, Pepe again spotted a watcher standing atop a barren peak, a shadowy figure standing motionless on a rock. He quickly averted his eyes to avoid appearing curious. When he looked back moments later, the figure had disappeared. In 1937, American poet John Jeffers referenced the Dark Watchers in his narrative poetry collection, Such Counsels You Gave to Me, and Other Poems, based on a Scottish ballad. One excerpt reads, "As he neared the slopes of Howran, he seemed to see a man standing at the edge of the mountain, watching the valley intently against the backdrop of the peaks. The young man, his tired and sluggish mind shaped by the mountains and schooled in the city, instinctively recalled his childhood. He thought that might be one of the watchers who often roamed these coastal mountains. They looked human, but were certainly not. They watched from the ridges, but when the youth approached, he recognized the tattered clothing, the pale hair, the slanted forehead, and the deep lines running from the eyes to the chin. So when the figure turned toward him in the quiet twilight and revealed its face, he was not surprised." Another vague account appears in the 2006 book Weird California, compiled by American conspiracy writer Greg Bishop. The book mentions that in the 1960s, a local high school principal was hunting in the Santa Lucia Mountains when he spotted a black-cloaked humanoid figure wearing a wide-brimmed hat, standing on a rock in the canyon, slowly observing the surroundings. But when he called out to other hunters, the phantom vanished instantly. In 2014, John Steinbeck's son, Thomas Steinbeck, and California artist Benjamin Brode published a book titled In Search of the Dark Watchers, Landscapes and Lore of Big Sur. The book recounts John's childhood encounters with the Watchers and testimonies from his grandmother, Olive Hamilton, and Billy Post, a descendant of early settlers in Big Sur. They firmly believed in the existence of the Dark Watchers, claiming they were an enigmatic group known to both Native Americans and Spanish settlers. John's grandmother Olive even claimed to have interacted with them, leaving offerings of fruit, nuts, and flowers, which were sometimes reciprocated with gifts of feathers, shells, or pine nuts. There are few well-documented and complete eyewitness reports of the Dark Watchers. Most accounts come from scattered responses in online forums or podcasts. The only somewhat systematic collection of sightings comes from a website called Dark Watchers Observed, which is dedicated almost entirely to this phenomenon. The website's sighting logs contain various recent encounters, though most sources remain unverified and questionable. As for whether the Dark Watchers truly exist, or if they are merely the result of superstition and illusion, opinions remain divided among the public and scholars alike. Skeptic Brian Dunning argued in a 2016 blog post that the Dark Watchers might be a 20th century invention, an urban legend that grew over time. Another popular theory suggests they could be a rare instance of Brocken specters, an optical illusion caused by a shadow being cast onto distant mist or fog, creating a ghostly, giant-like figure. Whether real entities or a blend of legend and optical trickery, the Dark Watchers remain one of the most mysterious and fascinating unidentified beings in the American West.